Hello and welcome to this new lecture about renovation needs and performance targets. Within this lecture, I will be going to present the main needs at European level and the approach adopted within the Horizon 2020 project for ReNew for defining the renovation packages and assessing their performances. In particular, I will be going to show a general overview of the renovation needs in the European building stock, the list of key performance indicators for the performance evaluation as adopted we did for ReNew, the European geocluster approach, the adopted residential archetypes, and the identified main renovation needs. So let's start with some key figures about the European building stock. We know that buildings account for 40% of the consumption, and they are also responsible for the 36% of the CO2 emissions. Considering that 75% of building is inefficient and 35% of buildings has more than 75 years, building renovation represents a very strategic topic for the agenda of the next years. In fact, in order to guide Europe towards the complete decarbonization, the European Commission set very ambitious targets for the next years. In particular, by 2030, it's foreseen to have a reduction of 40% of the greenhouse gas emissions in comparison to 1990 levels, the 32.5% of improvement of energy efficiency, and the 32% of the energy consumption should come from renewable energy sources. Here reported in these slides the main documents reporting these targets, and in particular the Energy Performance of Building Directive 844 of 2018 and the Clean Energy for All Europeans. On the other hand, in the last years, although we can find a regular increase of the investment in building renovation, as we can see in this slide, the energy-saving interventions remains almost constant, with around 200 billion euro invested each year. In general, the renovation rate varies from 0.4 to 1.2% of the building stock each year, but only 0.2–0.3% undergo deep renovation. Therefore, identifying which are the main needs for renovation of the users in order to better address their expectations and to foster the uptake of deep renovation intervention is very strategic for reaching the EU decarbonization objectives. On this issue, several European projects try to map the user needs and carried out surveys at European level. One of the main evidence is that across Europe there are different expectations for the users. In particular, the Horizon 2020 project iBroad conducted a huge survey in some European countries. And in particular, here is reported the comparison between Bulgaria and Poland. It highlights how the key needs have different priorities in different countries. For example, while comfort of the house reached the first place in both countries, other aspects occupy different positions, such as the value of the house and indoor air quality expectations. One evidence came from these results is that the CO2 reductions is not a significant target for the users. In fact, in both countries is at the end of the list. Also, the project for ReNew tried to tackle this issue and proposed a targeted approach for the definition of the renovation packages. In particular, the starting point is to focus on the specific context when the renovation will take place. To this purpose, for ReNew divided Europe in geocluster that are meant to be homogeneous areas according to specific characteristics. As you can see in these slides, Europe has been divided in 6 geoclusters: Northern, Northeast, East, Continental, Mediterranean and Atlantic. More details, the selected features adopted for the definition of the geoclusters within FORA-ReNew were also identified as main factors influencing the renovation needs and targets, and in particular, we consider the national boundaries in order to take care of the minimum requirements for the renovation set by law, the features of the building stock, and in particular the share of multifamily and single-family houses in the residential buildings, and the climate conditions. Interviews with the demo owners and local advisor, FORA-ReNew identified some key renovation needs and expectations in the geoclusters. As an example, here reported the answers for Northern, Mediterranean and continental geoclusters. As you can see in this slide, it's possible to identify some differences in the needs in the three geoclusters according to the boundary condition of the context. For example, in the Mediterranean one, there is the need for reducing the consumption in order to cope with the energy poverty and, in general, to increase the bed quality of the existing constructions. On the other hand, some drivers in northern and continental geoclusters highlight a higher initial quality of the construction and consequently different renovation needs, more focused on comfort expectations and indoor air quality. The second step of the geocluster approach for defining renovation packages requires the definition of sample archetypes representative of the building stock. Since the purposes of the project focus on residential building, FORA-ReNew worked starting from the archetypes as defined within the project Tabula Episcope, that for the European countries, according to the construction periods, presents a set of representative buildings. FORA-ReNew selected 4 building geometries: the single-family house, the detached house, the multifamily house and the building block, and the specific building features for each representative countries, considering the envelope, the thermal properties and the HVAC system, according to the reference geoclusters. These buildings are the basis for the definition and the performance assessment of the renovation packages. The last part of the FORA-ReNew geocluster approach deals with the definition of key performance indicators. The key performance indicators allows to assess the impact of the renovation packages on a specific building and context, and also the compliance with the user needs. In particular, within FORA-ReNew, we identified 5 thematic areas following the identified drivers of the European geoclusters. In particular, the areas deals with energy, that represent the energy consumption of the buildings for heating, cooling, domestic hot water production, environment associated with the CO2 emissions of the buildings, comfort and indoor air quality, measured with the level of potential satisfaction of the users in terms of thermal conditions and the CO2 concentration, the economic issues that are related to the viability of the renovation investment, the payback period and the net present value, and the building site management associated with the duration of the construction site that was introduced for measuring the positive contribution of prefabricated solution. To conclude the presentation, here you can see an insight of the representation of the FORA-ReNew renovation packages. These packages have been elaborated by applying the approach as explained in this lecture. As you can see in this table, you can find the specification of the geoclusters, like the building type and the climatic condition, and the technical details of the applied renovation technologies. In the second part of the technical sheet, you can find a detailed overview of the performance analysis with all the thematic areas and the related key performance indicators. The performances are calculated for each geocluster and for all the specific building archetypes. So here you can have a general overview of the reachable performance target given by the application of the renovation packages. I really would like to invite you to visit the Fora Renew website and to download the complete report for a more detailed explanation of the GeoCluster approach for the definition of the deep renovation packages. The lecture is ended and I would like to thank you for your attention.